Today we're going to be storytelling a book called Mesmerized by Rockliff. The American Revolution was in full flight when Benjamin Franklin went to charm the king and queen in Paris. America needed France's help. Come to find out, Benjamin Franklin and the king and queen of France needed one another. When Benjamin Franklin stepped into French soil, the people were mesmerized by Ben's weird fur hat. The French people really seemed to like new things. After a moment of fame with Ben's hat, the French people quickly started to love something new: science. But shortly after science was coming to an end, something new came along: Dr. Mesmer. Dr. Mesmer was mysterious and elegant. He wore a powdered wig and a fine coat of purple silk. Dr. Mesmer had made a claim to have discovered a new force. Dr. Mesmer was as different from Ben Franklin as a fancy layered torte was from a homemade apple pie. But with this new force, like gas, it could not be seen or touched. Like electricity, it held great power. Like a hot air balloon, it made what seemed impossible come true. Dr. Mesmer said that this new force streamed from the stars and flowed into his iron wand. When he stared into his patient's eyes and waved this wand of his, things seemed to happen. Dr. Mesmer could not make the same glass of water taste like 20 different things. Dr. Mesmer claimed to have said that his force helped people who were sick. What kind of sickness, may you ask? Dr. Mesmer had claimed to cure them all. Everyone seemed to agree Dr. Mesmer's force was the most thrilling thing ever. Well, not quite everyone believed this silly magician. Doctors started to become furious with this Mesmer person. Was this fraud even a doctor? The real doctors took this matter to the king and queen. The doctors had concluded that the reason nobody could see or touch this force was because it was not there. It seemed that Dr. Mesmer has fooled everybody, even the king and queen. The king did not know how to deal with this crazy situation, but he knew whom to ask. Who do you think he's going to ask? I don't know. He seemed to have asked Benjamin Franklin. Ben said he needed to see for himself what Dr. Mesmer's force could do. It seemed that everybody was in a sort of trance, except for Ben. Something was not right. Dr. Mesmer said that the American, who was Ben, must be special. The force must not work on Americans. Ben had a different idea. What if the force was not in Dr. Mesmer's wand, but in the patient's mind? Those patients believed the force was real. They believed it was real because they expected it to be. But how could Ben be so sure? He watched another patient being mesmerized. His assistant, Charles, waved his fingers near her face, and she screamed. She said she felt a burning flame. Ben asked her to try it once again, but blindfolded. When Ben's assistant, Charles, waved his fingers near her stomach, the woman cried out in pain that her ear was hurting. How do you think this could happen if he waved his fingers near her stomach, but her ear was hurting? Charles then moved behind her back, and then the woman screamed her leg was hurting. Ben blindfolded another patient and asked if she was being mesmerized. His patient said yes. Charles was not even in the room. When Charles was in the room, he stood behind the patient. Nothing happened. Ben tested patient after patient, but it was always the same. Ben went back to the king and told him what he'd seen. After all the commotion, Ben went back to his own country and planned to find a little time for science, too. The end.